Sometimes all you need are just two chords to make fire Afrobeat sound. You heard me right, you just need two chords. But then again, you need a little bit of creativity and of course, excellent sound selection. Now walk with me as I make this fire Afrobeat sound, starting from just these two chords. The same chord, but I've managed to play it differently and I've used better sounds. That's step one. I loaded up Kontakt and I was able to find this really good sounding muted guitar and I played it as such. It's quite simple, but it does the job, you understand? Sometimes you just gotta keep it simple. I was able to find this really good sounding guitar loop in Kontakt. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't the same key scale I was playing in, so I had to just tweak it up a little bit, put in some effects and let it play, put in some parts of the song. Since we're still talking about melodies, before I get to the bass, let me play what I did on the intro. I just got a couple of pads and I reversed them and rendered them back up to audio. I had to delete the main files so as to save some space on my PC. I rendered them back into audio and I put them in place as such. Sticking to the original memo, you just have to keep your sound simple and you have to stick to great sound selection. And by great sound selection, I mean whatever sounds really good with minimal effects. You don't have to load up too much plugins before you get a great sound. Still at the intro part, I was able to layer the parts with some really good sounding violins from a stock plugin called Sakura. I think it's a violin, not a violin. But then this is what it sounds like. And for the bass, which I believe happens to be some of the most interesting parts of the song, of this beat. This is how I went about it. I used a couple of basses. Maybe you should just have a listen of them. I loaded up the plugins so you can see them. The first one sounded like it's some couple of stabs, but yeah, it's a bass. It's some sort of bass with some sort of atmospheric feel to it. The second bass was basically some sort of acidic bass from FabFilter, and it's my first time trying something like that, but it really sounded nice, to me at least. And lastly, the last bass that I used was some sort of phasing bass. It had a very long tail, but then I like the way it slided up and down between notes. I reserved this part for the chorus. Then for the percussions, I would admit I'm sometimes very lazy when it comes to this part, but then I still take my time to do it. I used a loop from JB, really good sounding loop, but then I didn't just use it like that. I think I put some effects on it. I think like a filter. I used the filter effect and I cut it at certain places to give it some sort of rhythm. Because I didn't want to stray too much from the original Afrobeat sound, so I used some conga, which I believe was able to bring it back to its ethnic roots. I do not know what I would classify this sound as specifically, but to me it sounded like some talking drums. It gave it a little yours. Of course, I wouldn't actually want to forget about this sound. It's one of the many filler sounds that I used in this actual production. It just ran from the beginning to the end, and I really liked the way it was. It gave it some sort of continuity. Not to bore you too much, I'll just play the beats how it sounds. And one thing about making really nice beats is that you don't need to mix it too much. You don't need to do too much. You just need to balance the sounds out if they are not level